Have you been dreaming about moving to the warm, sunny country of Portugal, but don't know how to avoid the biggest mistakes that expats generally make when moving here? Then you're going to want to watch this video because you'll be one step ahead of everyone else. And stay until the end of the video because the last point is absolutely critical for ensuring you have a successful move to Portugal. A very big and appealing thing about moving to a European country such as Portugal is the free healthcare that's offered. Now, don't fully expect this to be free because in your first 5 years of residency here, before you get your permanent residency or citizenship, you're going to have to get private healthcare insurance. Now, this can cost anywhere between 50 to 300 euros, depending on your age and previous medical history. However, I suggest getting the private health insurance throughout your entire life here in Portugal because the private healthcare can take weeks to get an appointment, or if you go into the clinics, you may be waiting there for hours and hours and hours. You do not get to pick the doctor who you want to take care of you, and it's a massive hassle and headache. So if you can afford to get the private healthcare insurance, I definitely suggest it because there are excellent clinics and doctors, and you can pick the doctors who you want to see and the doctors that you like. You get a private room if you have a medical situation that requires that. There are many added benefits to getting the private health insurance, so it's definitely recommended, and you will need it for the first 5 years of temporary residency here in Portugal, although you will still have access to the public healthcare if you choose to use that. Now, on average, Portugal is notorious for having a low cost of living, although housing prices have gone up significantly. When going to a cafe or a local supermarket, you get produce and coffees and pastel de natas and other treats like that, and also restaurants you get for significantly cheaper than other Western countries for the most part. Now, this is a big draw for people coming here, but of course, when you're coming a resident, you're either going to have to own a property to become a resident, or you're going to have a 12-month lease. Now, with a 12-month lease, you're probably going to have to be putting 3 to 4 months down on average, plus the security deposit. So you are going to be shilling out quite a bit before you get your residency here in Portugal. That doesn't even include the expenses for the visas, the lawyers that are helping you with all of this. There are many costs to be aware for. So you should really know that when you're making the investment, Portugal is going to be the place for you. So I recommend coming to Portugal, visiting, exploring various cities such as Lisbon, Algarve, Porto, so you really understand which regions and areas are going to be best for you, as they are all incredibly beautiful but fit lifestyles very differently. So be cautious of this and be prepared for the expenses that lay ahead. The third biggest mistake that expats make when moving here is not understanding the visa requirements. So you cannot come and go as you please when living in Portugal. For example, if you stay on a long-term residency visa here, you will have to spend 16 months in the first 2 years in Portugal with no longer than 6 months in a row outside of the country. Now, the following 3 years of your temporary residency, you have to spend 28 months in the country, again with no longer than 6 months consecutively outside the country. Now, this is something you have to be very aware of when scheduling dates and when sticking to the visa requirements, because you do not want to go over these dates, spend 6 months in a row, longer than 6 months in a row outside of the country. So be very wary and organize this properly so you don't get in trouble or potentially lose your visa. After your 5 years of temporary residency and you stick to all the requirements, you can then apply for the permanent residency in Portugal and also citizenship if you choose to do so. Both of these will require a language proficiency in Portuguese, so definitely work on your Portuguese while living here in those 5 years. It's great to learn the language anyway, so you can be immersed in the culture, communicate with the Portuguese on a local level, and it's a very personal relationship that you can build with people here. Again, these language exams are not very difficult to pass, and with 5 years of living here, I'm sure you will be able to get proficient at it regardless. A resident visa in Portugal does allow you to travel freely within the Schengen area, but you can only spend 90 days, a maximum of 90 days out of 180 days in other countries other than Portugal. So this is something to be aware of, although of course if you're crossing the Spanish border, there's no police checking your passport. So if you do that and you travel by car, it's very difficult for them to keep track of this. But of course, you do want to stay in with regulations and make sure you're not passing any of those dates. So be very wary and careful of this. The fourth biggest mistake is not comparing Portugal to your home country. Let's say you're from the UK or US. Portugal is a different culture. So don't expect things to be done the same way as it is in your home country, and be very open-minded that you're living in Portugal and embracing their culture. Now, I absolutely adore this country, their culture, everything. As soon as I come back every time from a vacation and I fly back into the Faro or Lisbon airport, I absolutely love it here. And I feel so grateful for getting to live in this sunny, beautiful, warm climate with loving people and the safety that's around here. But there will be culture shocks, and many that you will experience. So Portugal isn't for everyone. Definitely be sure of your move, that you understand what's fully going on. Embrace the culture. Don't try to change it. Don't try to make it like your city back at home. Don't expect everything to be there that you're used to, but there will be other things that will replace it that I honestly believe are much better and make you much more fulfilled and happy. They do in my life, and I believe they will in most others. Now, the biggest mistake, and the reason I think that Portugal isn't a successful move for absolutely everyone, is because they pick the wrong location to live in, or potentially the wrong property. When either deciding to rent or purchase, it's fundamental for a successful move that you pick the right location. So I fully suggest coming to Portugal, visiting different regions. The main ones are the Algarve, Lisbon, Porto. You do have many interior regions as well, which are very beautiful if you're looking for more of a rural lifestyle. But the main cities and areas are Lisbon, Porto, and Algarve. I suggest getting immersed in their cultures. The Algarve is known much more for the weather, warm, sunny climate, over 300 days of sunny, blue skies here, and it's incredible. Moving up to Lisbon, of course, Lisbon is the capital and the main city area of Portugal. So if you're looking for a city life and a lot of buzz, then Lisbon really is the fantastic and perfect location for that. And Porto has a little bit of a mix of the more quiet and rural areas around it, but of course in the main city center, you have the city atmosphere and vibe. The weather is, noticeably worse. It's rainy and a little bit more cold there year round, but it's still an incredibly beautiful city. So every part and section and region of Portugal has its own beauty and draw factor, but they are tailored to different lifestyles. So definitely be aware and knowledgeable about where you're going to purchase or rent your property, because that is fundamental for a successful move. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe button, because that really helps the channel out. And if you are interested in moving to Portugal, you can check out the first link in the description below and book a free call with me. I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.